Hi everybody and welcome to another one of our art lessons with videography by my beautiful assistant Eloise Alderson and in collaboration with Keithley Healthy Living. So, yeah, well done Lulu. So today we're going to be doing a few clouds, a few skies by special request. One's a dry on dry technique and one's a wet on wet technique. And the first painting is just going to be two colours, keeping it really simple. So we're going to use Payne's Grey, how did you guess, and Raw Sienna. If you don't have Raw Sienna, some of you won't have it in your palette. I don't have it in my palette actually. I just mix a little bit of burnt sienna and a little bit of yellow ochre. And then the second painting is just three colours. So that's yellow cadmium, cadmium red, pale hue, and ultramarine blue. Okay, so let's get started. So painting number one first. I'm not going to do any of the landscape in it, we're just literally going to do the skies. So I'm using a really big brush. I'm using my biggest brush, which is a size 12. And I'm just going to start, let's use that as a reference. I'm going to start with the Payne's Grey. Okay. Okay. So dry on dry techniques, I'm just putting the Payne's Grey on and I'm just going to try and get it on in wiggly cloud-like forms. So coming down here, we're going to come in the V. Okay. So, and I'm also going to try and get different values as I put the paint on. So you see how that's a much heavier value than this. Okay. Cleaning my brush off and maybe just smoothing out some of these white spots because I'm using a rough paper. If you use a smooth paper, you probably wouldn't get so many, but I don't want too much of the white. Well, I don't want any of the white showing through actually with this. So now that is just water that I put on, and that's just blending out that Payne's Grey that's already on. You can see it moving down, that's fine. Just, you know, let it be. A bit more Payne's Grey. And then we're just going to come along here with this dark cloud. More water. And what happens is when you're putting it on, when you're using a dry on dry technique, you just got a little bit more control. It's just not flowing all the way across the page like we've done with other skies before. So it's just slightly more control, and also you can get a darker tone in. So I can put more Payne's Grey in here, you know, just in this corner. That's probably too much, so I'm cleaning my brush off. I'm just bringing that across like that. So I want more tone at the top of my painting really. Okay, and then let's just move over to this side, which I've neglected, and that started to dry, which is not so fabulous. So I'm going to try not to get too many cauliflowers over here happening, but just scrubbing away at that side. So we're blending in, and you can see what, you know, moving pretty quickly. It's warm at the moment, isn't it, guys? So just getting some colour on there, not too much colour. Again, a little bit more colour at the top, less so as we move down the page. And then it's just fading down, so it's like a faded wash that we're doing, isn't it? Down like that. Okay, so that is our Payne's Grey sky, but let's just warm it up a little bit. So all I'm going to do is get my raw sienna, or in my case a little bit of ochre and a little bit of burnt sienna. And I'm just going to put some yellow in here, and I'm going to allow that to bleed up. Okay, just to give me a little bit of warmth and a little bit of interest in that sky. Because otherwise it just feels a little bit too dead. So let's just have a little bit of that warm winter sun in our winter sky. Just being careful. I mean, if you blend these colours together, you will just get a grey. So that's it, that's our lovely sky. And then you would obviously move on to her, you know, some sort of landscape, whether it be a snow landscape or whatever. If you did want to put something like some trees in, you could just, as you've seen me do before, go along here and just add some trees in the horizon, which is just lovely. Love this technique. Just popping some some misty trees along there. So obviously with this one you have to work pretty quickly so it remains, you want it all to bleed up. Maybe a bit higher over in that corner, just to get a bit more interest there. There we are. Maybe just a bit higher over here. But now you see, and what I'm doing is starting to fiddle, starting to make a complete picture, which I wasn't going to do, was I? So anyway, that's it. That's our idea of our winter sky. Okay. Right, let's move on to our next one now. I'll pop that one down. Thank you, Lou. Okay, so this one is much more realistic. Oh, I don't know what's happened there. Maybe our cloud. Much more of a summer sky. And then on this one, we are going to be wetting the whole of the piece. Okay, so this is a wet on wet technique now, but much more realistic looking than our winter sky. So, wetting it all, making sure it's all really, really wet. So wet completely. This water's, I've been painting all day, practicing these paintings, so it's got a little bit grey, but that's fine. You see how wet I'm making that. I really want it soaked through because we're going to work a lot with this, and we don't want it to dry out. There. Okay. So because I've got it upright, you may work on this with it laying down. If you do, then you're just going to have to tip your paper up just to make sure you've got all the pools of water off it. You don't want big pools of water. Okay, so that's sort of had time to soak through really. Just leave it a minute to soak like that, or a few seconds rather I should say, and then we can get started. So on this one, Lulu, if you have a look, I'm just going to mix those colours. Do you remember we said we'd use ultramarine blue? Can you remember the colours, Lou? Ultramarine blue, and it's not on there, and it was cadmium red, pale hue. Okay, so we make this lovely purple, and then surprisingly, the surprise colour is the yellow, cadmium yellow, and that's going to create the shadows of our in our clouds. Okay, so you're just gonna get a colour that's sort of like that. You may make it, may want a bit more red. You're just gonna have to feel your way through that. Okay, but have some made up. Right, let's get started. I'm just going to get that it's got a little pool of water down there. I'm just going to take that excess off, and we're going to get started with our ultramarine blue. No, we're not, sorry, that's a complete lie. We're not going to do that. We're going to start with our yellow. Okay, and we're just going to sort of create where the clouds are going to be. So we're going to have a cloud about here. Do you know what, Lou? I'm going to do this on my lap because I think if I do it sitting up, it's going to drip too much. I'm going to do this flat. Can you still manage to video like that, darling? Thank you. Right, so this is where one cloud's going to go. And remember that when we're doing this, we are creating another wet environment. And then we're going to have another cloud coming in over here. Okay. Still got a bit of red on there, but it's fine. And then we're going to have another cloud across here. Something like that. I hope that you can see that. Okay, and then we're going to start with blue. So we'll get some blue in. And then we're just going to identify, and what we're going to do is leave this gap around these clouds that we've made. Like that. And then hopefully just popping the blue on as well in a random way so that we have different pigments, different values. Okay. So maybe much lighter here. Remember how much lighter all this will dry, especially because it's a wet on wet technique. And here. And then a whisper here. Not much of a whisper, was it? It's a bit strong, that. You can see how it's feathering out, being really, pretty, just feathering out around those clouds that we've identified. I mean, you could draw them if you wanted first, if you felt that would be a little bit easier. Try not to get too much green. Okay, so now next we're going to start with the colour that we mixed. Okay, so this is the shadows of our clouds now. So we don't want to go all the way up to the edge because we've left that white edge, haven't we? And we don't really want to go. We want to show some of that yellow coming through as well. So we're just going to feed that around like that. Just to make a bit more up. And that should just feather out. So you should still hopefully be wet in there because you've wet again, haven't you? You've put some more yellow in, so you created another wet environment. And then down here as well. Just softly here. So maybe have a little bit more of the yellow showing there. Okay, so just going to make some more of my purpley colour up. And I'm just going to put a little bit more of a stronger tone in up here. There we are. Maybe across that blue, that's fine. There we are. And then some here. And we just want to get some, this, just trying to create shadows with this really. But you can start fiddling now because you bought yourself a little bit of time. So you can spend a bit more time getting this right, these shadows. I mean, sometimes it'll just happen and sometimes you just have to work a little bit harder at it. Okay, and also it's about letting it be, trying not to work it too much. Okay, so just trying to get the different tones. You see, just putting those darker tones in there, what a difference that's made to that cloud, how much more believable that looks now. Yeah, and then here maybe at the side, and then it's this one that's not quite right yet, so I'm just going to add in like that. There we are, and then all I'm going to do is get the same yellow and the same blue, our ultramarine blue, make a green, a bit more yellow to that, and then we're going to have some sort of idea of a green space down here. And then you can always pop, I think I will pop some, flowers or something just coming up to make sense of that, just to make it a bit prettier. And there we have it, little bit on clouds. Okay, thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see the results for everybody's work. Okay, bye.